Blog Talk Radio.
I took a chance. I played the game. What did I really know? Who could I blame? I tried my best to see it through. But our love didn't last, it never grew. There comes a time, there comes a day to tell the truth and be on our way. I took a chance, you did the same. But it's all over now, we're off the game.
Welcome to the Collaborative Divorce, a brand new show on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host and moderator, Bonnie D. Graham. Let me tell you a little bit about this program. The Collaborative Divorce on Blog Talk Radio features legal, financial, and mental health professionals who are trained to help couples and families resolve their disputes in an open, non-adversarial manner. This is without litigation and without a judge. The goal is a mutually agreeable outcome. The speakers will address the current and long-term legal, financial, and emotional needs and goals of both divorcing parties, and we'd love to have you call in. I'll give the number right now, area code 323-443-7495, and you can find us at blogtalkradio.com/The Collaborative Divorce. I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment one of the founders of the organization that is sponsoring this, Collaborative Dispute Resolutions. Her name is Harriette M. Steinberg, Esquire. And let me tell you a little bit about Harriette. She earned her Juris Doctor degree, that's a JD degree from Hofstra, right here on Long Island in 1981, and has been admitted to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court, the courts of the state of New York, the U.S. Tax Court, and a lot of other courts, meaning Harriette is the real deal. She's a practicing attorney, and she has a heart. She cares. Harriette, before becoming an attorney, worked as a fiduciary accountant for several law firms, so she also has a background in accounting. She's currently a board member of the New York Association of Collaborative Professionals. This is very important to remember and why she's our first speaker. And she's a member of the International Association of Collaborative Professionals. She's been honored by many organizations, including the Family and Children's Association, the Town of Hempstead, Distinction Magazine, the Long Island Center for Business and Professional Women, and for 15 years, Harriette M. Steinberg has been studying alternative forms of dispute resolution and has expanded the scope of her professional law firm services to include what's known as collaborative practice. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our very first guest to kick off this new series, Harriette M. Steinberg. Welcome to the Collaborative Divorce. Harriette, how are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Bonnie.
Well, it's all true, Harriette, and, you know, you're here to kick off this series because there's so much to say. There are so many types of divorce. We won't even touch on the astronomical rate of divorce in this country. But, you know, in this economy today, Harriette, people are very concerned about the pocketbook, the dollars, and sometimes it gets in the way of common sense. You want to kick this off with talking about your recent blog on divorce fees. Are you penny wise and pound foolish?
Absolutely. You know, you're right on with the concept of people being concerned with the cost of divorce. And often I'll get a phone call, and probably second question from the caller is going to be, how much does this cost, or how much will it cost? But the truth is that is the wrong question. By measuring how much something costs, particularly in the divorce arena, you actually eliminate talking about what is most important. In divorce, Bonnie, as you know, it's a traumatic experience for many, many people. And getting to the point of being able to separate and to maintain a family is one of the most important goals of the actual collaborative divorce that we are now practicing. Cost really has very little to do with that process. And
Harriette,
so
as you said, divorce is such a traumatic experience. I don't think anybody ever in a sound mind would enter a marriage thinking, wow, I can't wait to get divorced. We hope that people enter it with some optimism and some positive thoughts and feelings. But let's talk a little bit before we get into the cost and the distinction in types of divorce in the mindset, Harriette. People come to a divorce because of unhappiness, disappointment, lack of shared goals. You can probably add 25 or 50 items to this list as fast as I can start to even think about them because of your extensive law experience. So there's anger, there's disappointment, there's distrust. And is this something people would commoditize, Harriette? Would they say, well, I spent maybe $35,000 on a great car last year, so what is my divorce worth? Do you think do they look at the budget and say, how much can I afford to get the best attorney, the best divorce, the best settlement?
Actually not. It works somewhat in the reverse. Because divorce in the traditional sense, Bonnie, the adversarial divorce is so terrible and the experience is so terrible, when you add the fact that we have to pay for that experience, the idea of cost becomes a major concern. Mm-hmm. And that has been the factor, I believe, that causes people to ask. They're first afraid of the whole divorce experience. Then when you hear about how terrible people's experiences have been in the traditional way, cost becomes the worst part of it. But when we're in the collaborative setting, cost becomes a completely different factor. And in fact, it's, you measure cost by what you are able to achieve. Can you put a dollar sign, I would say, on the fact that you now have a family that continues even after the marriage is over, where people can talk to each other in relative civility? You can't buy that, and so cost becomes a secondary factor. It's almost like saying to someone, we're going on a trip, and I'm not going to tell you where we're going, but I want you to tell me how much it's going to cost. Oh boy! It's a foolish way to decide whether you are going to take the trip or not. And that's what that question really boils down to.
Now, Harriette, I looked up divorce on Wikipedia today, one of my favorite knowledge Bibles, if I can use that word that way, on the Internet. I know a lot of people use Wikipedia, and I'm just going to rattle off the types of divorce, and then I'd like you to talk about the real meaning and the process for collaborative. I discovered that there are a no-fault divorce, an at-fault divorce, very interesting, a summary divorce, an uncontested divorce, an electronic divorce, a mediated divorce, and the one we're here to talk about, which to me is the only one that makes any real sense if you have to use the D word, and that's collaborative divorce. So why don't you tell us, what is it all about? Who's involved? How many people are at the table? And why is it becoming so popular? We say it's proven, but proven by whom? And what can you talk about positive outcomes, Harriette?
Well, let me first give you a little history. In 1990, a family attorney in Minnesota by the name of Stuart Webb decided that he could not continue to practice in the traditional forum. And so he created a process called collaborative law. And the main part of, or the mainstay of this process is that the parties are represented by attorneys who are specifically and specially trained to negotiate to a settlement. And the parties and their attorneys, this is the hallmark of the process, will agree in writing not to take this dispute to court. They agree with each other that they are going to reach a settlement by negotiation. Now, if by some chance the settlement is not able to be achieved, the attorneys have committed to the process to the extent that they will not represent the clients in a litigated setting. They will have to give up their clients, so that we see this as a commitment, the attorney's commitment to the process. Now, what is done is we have a series of meetings. They are structured meetings. And on Long Island, we have adopted a new model which involves a family specialist who is a mental health person. Mm-hmm. That person is our coach and our neutral. So there is a team that is put together. Each party has their own lawyer who is their advocate. And we have a neutral family specialist, and that person is the person who helps moderate the tensions, the upset, the disappointment that invariably comes out as you start to finish your marriage or end your marriage. Mm-hmm. And the mental health person can really keep us focused on getting to a new place, to a better place, hopefully, for the couple and the family. We also, one of the hallmarks of the process is, complete transparency. Both parties agree that nothing is going to be withheld in terms of information. So we have immediately eliminated a lot of nonsense that normally goes on in a litigated situation or in the traditional divorce situation.
And Harriette, let's talk a little bit about the public perception of traditional divorce. I would venture to say is exacerbated by what we see on so many law shows on TV, where expensive lawyers sit down in huge, very well-appointed conference rooms, and they bicker back and forth, and the settlements go up into the millions and millions, and all of the animosity and the angst is expressed, and people walk out. So that's the exact antithesis of the setting for collaborative divorce, would you say?
Absolutely. And, the truth of the matter is that the behavior that you see in these television programs are really just for the television and for, La La Land. Most of the time, people are upset, yes, but they can't afford to have nonsense, continued in their case. And when it happens, it really is a drain on their future lifestyles. When attorneys and clients act like the television programs, they're simply throwing away their assets, and it is a tremendous waste. So back to collaborative, when we sit down with our clients, we know what we're going to accomplish. And by the way, each meeting has a specific agenda. There are no surprises, no last-minute dirty tricks or any of that kind of thing. We sit down, we all know what we're going to be discussing, and we are able to approach each of the issues of the couple